Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
Apparently, VivziePop is a hell of a boss, and not in the
good way.
Not in the good way. So we're going to talk about some allegations, and I will be very clear. These are allegations from people who claim to have worked on her projects, on her show, that she is not a pleasant person to work for. That the work environment is toxic.
Right. This is, of course, people saying this doesn't mean that it's necessarily true.
Yeah.
These are just a story. We're covering the story that's out there.
We've had a couple people come to us, and there were some tweets out there talking about the situation, and now more people who have supposedly worked with VivziePop are coming out and saying that, she is unpleasant to work for. It's a toxic work environment, and we're going to talk about it. And again, just being completely objective here. I don't know the situation.
Nope.
Don't know these people. It's making the rounds on cartoon Twitter. And, here's the thing, too. And I said this today that, a lot of, and I'm not saying I don't believe these people, but I am saying that a lot of younger animators and comic book people tend to have unrealistic expectations of what working in the industry actually is like. So that could possibly maybe factor into some of the disappointment.
Or they could just be a terrible person to work for.
Or that could be the case. So we're going to read about these experiences and talk about it. This is not the first time VivziePop has had some controversy. Of course, we had the situation with Scott Cawthon, where apparently his fans doxed her after her fans doxed him.
Oh, I remember that, yes.
Yeah, I don't understand, like a double doxing.
I do remember that.
I know she was very unhappy because it came out that he voted for Trump or supported Trump.
Yeah, so?
And because of that, his family got doxed. He wound up quitting FNAF, Five Nights at Freddy's.
Well, his wife was pregnant.
And she's getting harassed.
And, because it's ridiculous, because these people, especially the cartoon people, are just absolutely batshit. And I think that there are people in the industry that promise them cookies if they go out and harass people.
I have heard that there are some people who work in the industry that try to find wannabes on forums and discords and whatever. And sometimes maybe they get promised something.
If they weaponize and go out and harass people that they feel that they're detractors. That might be why there's some really, really obsessive people that are obsessed with certain people and they don't understand why. Could be part of it. But, the thing I remember about her was everybody was mad about the voice acting because there were people that were voice actors in the show that weren't going over to the show that she was doing for, what network was it?
It's A24 is doing it.
Okay. And now, in some cases, people pointed out, well, it could have been A24.
Yeah.
It could have been her. We didn't know, but people were saying that they thought it was her. We don't know that, but this is not the first time accusations have been made.
Yeah, so there were some people that were very unhappy that some of the voice cast of Hazbin Hotel online, which of course for those of you who don't know, I don't know why you're watching this video because if you don't know who VivziePop is, she is a YouTube animator. She put a pilot out there for Hazbin Hotel. She's put Helluva Boss out there. She got Hazbin Hotel picked up as a full-blown series. And, of course, they're making changes from the pilot to the show. This happens all the time. Go find the Steven Universe pilot. That is way different.
Well, you have to get past the ed and Eddie porn, and then you can find the...
After you get past the ed and Eddie porn. So this is nothing new, but people are unhappy because they're like, well, the voice actors help make the show.
That's true.
And you're not taking them with you.
I mean, personally, if it was me, I would be taking people with me. But again, we don't know know the specifics. Yeah.
So again, I just want to be very clear. Like when we do this video, and this is kind of like Rooster Teeth too. We had people come to us actually who are currently working at Rooster Teeth at the time saying, "Oh, it's so much worse." Than they're letting on. And then months later, it would come out that things were a hell of a lot worse. And they're laying people off. So again, this is just anecdotal evidence. It is making the rounds. A lot of people are talking about it. So it's kind of like, okay, we'll talk about it. Just wanted to be upfront about that. So before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Over 271,000 subs, I think, something like that. Not as many as VivziePop has on YouTube. But so there are some allegations out there, and apparently it was kicked off by Erin Frost.
Frost Art.
Frost Art? I thought it was Frost Tart, like Pop-Tart.
Oh, yeah, no, it's Frost Art.
Yeah, and Erin said that it's been pretty quiet for a while because working on Helluva Boss fucked my mental health so badly. I've given up on animation entirely, and I haven't been able to draw for the last year or so since I quit. Vivian Medrano is an awful human being. Now, I gotta give a hat to... Yeah, that's pretty scathing. Fantasy Heart Animation Studios who tagged me in on this, and at first I didn't do much about it.
Well, we usually try to cooperate stuff. Like, people think, oh, you just run with stuff. It's like, actually, we don't.
No.
We also protect our sources.
Yes.
And we, unless we have someone that we really, really, really know personally, like we did with the Masters of the Universe thing, and we know and trust them, we usually just wait a little bit till we see if there's more information. That's what we usually do.
Yeah, so almost immediately there was more cooperation. Mm-hmm. Again, this is their version of events.
But it also could be like, hurry up, everybody jump on the bandwagon too. You never know.
That could be too. If somebody's been targeted to get canceled, again, I don't know VivziePop. I have a lot of respect for what she's done, that she was able to get her stuff, popular on YouTube. She was able to get her stuff recognized enough to actually get a series picked up that way instead of like just constantly pitching to Hollywood,
Right, but if it's true that there's people that got so bad they didn't want to work in animation anymore, that's
pretty bad.
That's pretty bad.
That's pretty bad.
That is a very bad thing.
Okay, so this is coming from Erin Frost Art, not Frost Tart.
Okay. Frost Tart sounds more fun though.
Yeah. Frost Tart does sound more fun. Crow's critique on Tumblr. Tumblr is really confusing for me to read because everything's like nested. But so recently, an ex-crew member on Helluva Boss named Erin Frost came out and spoke about their horrible time working on the show. Viv apparently is worse than we could have imagined. I knew she was bad, but this is gross. It's upsetting that she overworks her crew so much that some are falling out of love with their passion, animation.
Yeah, that is shit.
Erin didn't get fired. They quit, so it must have been a horrible experience. The truth always comes to light, and I wouldn't be surprised if more crew members spoke up. I can smell a huge scandal in the near future, and I don't think we'll be talking about these projects for much longer. I just want people to see this. This kind of stuff always gets swept under the rug.
Now, I do want to point out, though, in animation, like gaming, there's a lot of crunch, and there's a lot of things that have to be done, and you have very little time to do it. And sometimes, sometimes people can be assholes, where a lot of people burn out quickly on things like animation and game design and things like that because it is so stressful.
Yeah.
And, you're constantly, like, your thumb is on you and they feel like they're being pushed on all the time. It's just a very, very hard industry to work in. So I'm not sure if it's a matter of they got burnout because the demands were ridiculous or because of her personally. Don't know, but it's totally possible either way because I've seen many people give up on animation or whatever because of the way the industry is in general.
I think they have a very, I think a lot of people who maybe do like webcomics or something have a very skewed idea of what working creatively full time actually is like. Because they're like, well, I worked someplace else. I was a barista and I was doing a webcomic on the side. And then my comic got picked up as a graphic novel. And oh my God, they expect me to have this done by a certain date because I took the money.
But I can't quit my job because I don't get paid enough.
I don't get paid enough.
The advance isn't enough for this. How am I going to get it all done?
Right. So yeah, and basically, yeah. So this has happened a lot, and we've seen this with showrunners that have come from comics too, and especially now with budgets being cut and everything, people are expected to do a lot more. Mm-hmm. I think on with fewer resources. And
right.
I think that's a very fair thing to say.
So that's one arm, but they're saying it's specifically her though.
Yeah, so let's get into it. Let's get into it here. So I hope VivziePop realizes her wrongdoings one day. I feel like a scandal might happen. Okay, I sometimes get the feeling Viv feels like she's untouchable, or at least that her mistreatment of her staff is worth it if it means her projects will see the light of day. If there are more people who have had similar experiences as Erin's, I hope they speak up. Someone else has, and we'll talk about that. I feel the same way. I hope more workers speak out about the way they're getting treated. I hate the way Tumblr is. Everything's nested. I'm sure they're not the only one. Viv even joked about it one time, or a couple, not sure. But yeah, I hope their mental health gets back to normal.
Me too.
And I hope that they get back into animation.
Me too.
It makes me really upset that people still support someone like her while she's still mistreating people and being ignorant as hell. To anyone reading this, don't send Viv hate, don't send Eric hate, don't send anyone hate.
Agree. Don't send anybody hate because it just somehow comes back on you. Even if you don't tell people to do it and they do it, you get blamed for it.
All right, so I'm honestly touched to see so many supportive messages. For a long time, I never spoke up. I take it this is Erin, because I was afraid of what would do to my career prospects, but the longer my burnout lasted, the more it was clear I just didn't have a future in animation. Not if it meant overworking myself to the breaking point.
Here's the thing real quick I want to mention here. I can't tell you how many people I've seen that have taken shit. I mean, I'm not whether this is true or not, but I've seen people take legitimate shit, and we've been in places where we've had shitty things going on, and you're not supposed to say anything because it could hurt your chances, or it would be a shame if you ruined your career by calling out the person who might have more power than you because they're an asshole or because they're doing something they shouldn't be doing. And we've run into that ourselves, and I think it's absolute shit because they're like, if you're professional, you'll say nothing. Well, if you're professional, you won't be an asshole in the first place.
The animation industry is small and incestuous. The Western animation
They'll talk
industry.
Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
People are going to know.
It's so easy to get blacklisted. It's easier, I would say it's easier to get blacklisted in animation than it is in comics. Because there are, believe it or not, a lot more opportunities because there are a lot more comic books being produced, even though they're not selling that well.
Yeah.
A lot more comics being produced than multi-million-dollar TV shows.
So it's completely understandable that they didn't want to say anything.
Yeah.
Because it probably could bite them in the ass. But my point is, I get tired of being told, if you're a professional, you won't say anything. But you're supposed to just accept unprofessional behavior and say nothing. And I think that's shit.
All right, so here we go again. Maybe I'll get back to working on indie projects one day, but SpindleHorse was just such a toxic experience. I'm not sure it will be anytime soon. I struggle even to draw things for myself. It's going to be a while before I'm ready to try and monetize something I'm passionate about by selling my creative labor.
You've been there.
Others. Yeah, people want to know, and I've said this before, why did Shadowbinders go on a very long hiatus? It was burnout. It was a combination of burnout and the audience changing.
And you were so mad at people.
I was very mad at people. So, I had to keep a day job. Now, we're in a different situation because we're married with kids. And at the time, our kids were pretty young. We have a mortgage and all these other things. And I talked about this a little bit today because I used to work on Disney Comics. And the reason I walked away from Disney Comics, God's angry at me right now. It's thundering. That's okay. I'm going to speak out anyway.
That's
because
right.
I have to give my story.
So you're not being professional.
Yeah. So anyway, we're having a thunderstorm here. So, I walked away from comics because it didn't pay enough, and I liked it, but I worked a pretty demanding full-time job, and then I came home and I'd see my family for like an hour or two, and then I would draw or color or whatever the hell I was doing, and that would go on until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes. And then I would get up at like 6:30, 7 o'clock and go to work. And I did that for a couple of years. And I had to because the comic stuff just frankly didn't pay enough. So we had to do full time. And you were teaching at the time. And we were doing shows on top of that. We were doing a lot of conventions. So weekends we were doing conventions. And it was hard. It was hard. So the breaking point for me came when the webcomic was actually pretty popular. And it went from, hey, thanks so much for putting this comic out there for free to where the hell is my free comic? You're lazy. Where's my free comic? And I'm like, fuck off.
Well, what got me was when we did the Patreon and we said they want to, if they could want to support a Patreon. One person's like, well, I support people on Patreon, but I support other people.
Yeah,
you're not one of them. One I want to support. I want your free stuff though.
There was a definite shift in audience, and I'm not sure exactly when it happened. When we first started doing webcomics, I'll be honest, people were a lot more sane and a lot more supportive. And toward the end of it, in the 4 or 5 years we were doing it, it was like, okay, now people are, I don't know if it's because the audience is younger, but they're a hell of a lot more demanding, and they're downright rude. I mean, when you've got people calling you lazy because you only put one free page up a week.
14-hour page up that week.
Versus 3 they think they should get, and you have to work a full-time job too. And they're like, well, I know other comics update more often. I'm like, yes, they also live in an apartment with 10 other people.
Or their spouse has a good job and
their spouse has a good job,
That's all they do.
And that's true. There actually are so many webcomics people that their spouses are like doctors.
I do it full time, but yeah. But anyway, back to this.
We
can understand why your passion would die. Long story short.
When the money runs out, when you don't even know if you can keep the lights on, It makes it very hard to create. Let's put it that way. Anyway, it's not just that Viv demanded unreasonably tight deadlines when she even gave us deadlines, but she also demanded our loyalty as employees. We weren't allowed to speak positively about other shows, especially not other indie projects. We weren't really allowed to work on other indie projects either. It was frowned on. Well, it depends on your contract. You know, we're working with artists now that they're not exclusive. I mean, we need to check with their...
They're free to see other people.
It's an open relationship. No, but I mean, really, it comes down to, are you available? Can you get this project done in this window? Kind of like I look at like a house painter. Like, are you going to be available when we need you to work on this project? But I also understand, like, you can't just work for us, you know.
Right. No, I mean, when it's a job, like a full-time job, though, they might require that.
Yeah, if you're on salary, a lot of times it is like you work for Disney, and that's basically it. You know, unless we say, yeah, if you have a non-compete, but then sometimes when you have a company like Disney, it's like, yeah, you can't compete with or work in any industry that Disney is also involved in. I'm like, well, Disney's involved in everything. You know, everything. I remember one time Viv got us all on a Discord group call and streamed a crossover episode of Villainous and another, I assume, Cartoon Network show, not CNN, Cartoon Network. She encouraged everyone to make fun of it and tear apart every little flaw.
But when we do that, we're horrible people.
You know, when Clownfish TV does it, we're awful.
And we don't even go that far.
No, we don't. She would also speak poorly of other creators, indie or otherwise. I distinctly remember her mentioning that it was supposedly utter hell to work with Dana Terrace of the Owl House. I can't speak to that situation either. It was just deeply toxic all around, not just the way the animation and design work was done, that being highly disorganized and unprofessional, but also the culture. When I first joined the studio, it felt like Viv treated me as an equal, and I'm sure it felt that way for a lot of us. But gradually, a hierarchy came into place. Viv had her favorites, the people who flattered her and rarely, if ever, showed interest in anything that wasn't Hazbin or Helluva Boss, and her executives of sorts, her close friends and favorites. Now, I want to jump into this, too. This actually happens at every job.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's creative or not, but also from her point of view, and again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. From her point of view, it might be, you know, you're working for her. She would like you to be interested in her show, and she is the boss. I mean, she is the boss.
Being like, you can't like anything else is ridiculous, too.
Yeah, that's kind of...
Just don't talk about it at work.
Yeah, there's Sam Miller, who I believe, or at least was, listed in credits as background design lead or something, and is essentially Viv's Gal Friday. She was very often considered the de facto leader in Viv's absence. She was pretty nice in the beginning, but as time went on, she became more and more rude and abusive toward the artists. It was actually an interaction with Sam Miller that finally caused me to quit. Viv had made herself pretty untouchable, and we were meant to go through Sam, at least for background artists, if we had a question for Viv. I'm not going to go into detail on that last interaction, but here was Sam's treatment that affected most of us who had issues on the project. We barely interacted with Viv anymore. Again, that happens with a lot of jobs. I'm sorry. As far as we were aware, she was spending more and more time rubbing elbows with the increasingly expensive voice talent. That's likely where most of the budget goes. Merchandising is paying for brand voice talent like Norman Reedus. Viv herself insisted she wanted the role of Fizzaroli to go to Weird Al, but Yankovic's agent rejected the offer on his behalf. Can't imagine he comes cheap. From what I figure, once the first episode of Helluva went live and Viv insisted on uploading a new episode every 1 to 2 months, things got progressively worse. She had little to no sympathy for those of us who need day jobs to support ourselves. She wanted us to have... Okay, that's not good. She wanted us to have the turnout of a brick-and-mortar studio with none of the organization, professionalism, or benefits.
This isn't their actual job? This is like on the side?
Yeah, so this is just them working on the YouTube stuff. This isn't even the
other stuff.
The other stuff they're doing, which they're doing.
Yeah, she had a full-time job someplace else.
So I was working between 30 and 40 hours a week at Starbucks because I had bills and loans to pay. I once pulled an all-nighter to try and meet a deadline, which was only given out when I asked for one. So yeah, this is even worse because they're not full-time salaried employees. These are people working on the YouTube shorts.
Wow. Demanding exclusivity and all that from people that aren't even your full-time employees, that's bullshit.
Okay, so now my opinion has changed a little bit.
Yes.
A little bit. I stayed up all night to meet the deadline and then went immediately to my 8-hour shift at Starbucks. The lack of appreciation was crushing. That's how I describe working for Viv. Crushing.
Sounds like it.
I looked up to her. That's why I applied to the show. I was one of the people who defended her when people tried to call her toxic. And then the reality of it was that Viv uses people who admire her to her advantage. That's why she hires fans. She knows we're desperate for her approval. She knows she can get away with it pretty much whenever she wants, whatever she wants. After I left SpindleHorse, I tried salvaging my career, but I was just too exhausted. I'm still feeling that burnout at times. I feel like I might never get my art back. I know I will, but as someone who struggled with mental illness even before working on Helluva Boss, it just kind of wrecked me to finally have made it with my animation career only to abruptly blow up in my face because of someone I'd looked up to. Yeah, it'd be a real shame if, and I'm not saying she's doing it, but a real shame if there were people out there working on certain shows that were promising certain people certain things to go attack their enemies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it'd be a real shame because they're probably not going to get what they're promised.
Get through the rest. It's basically a friend of theirs struggled to get work after leaving because Viv allegedly threatened other creators not to hire her artists. I can't verify this myself, so you're going to decide for yourself on that one. Personally, she believes it. While I was speaking about Viv with the producer of other indie works, describing a time she met Viv at a convention, she recalls that Viv seemed to find an idea of investing in her artists and their careers pointless and laughable.
So I feel used. She's treating everybody like this, supposedly. To be honest, I'm too exhausted, not looking to get involved in some crusade to take her down. Don't want to try to drag my fellow ex-employees I'm still friends with into a mudslinging fight. Well, it's not just her. That's the thing.
If it had just been that, we would be like, okay. But there's more.
Yeah.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. So this is Cass 9 Doodles, who I take as another person working on the show, supposedly. I've kept my mouth shut about this subject because even the slightest mention of anything negative about her opens up the floodgates.
That is true.
That is 100% true. So we did a couple of videos. We actually did videos, again, trying to be objective, talking about the voice actors and we're not sure what's going on or whatever. We did the video about Scott Cawthon's situation, trying to be objective, saying it's not cool to dox anybody in a double doxing war.
A double dox, dare you.
Freaking stupid. But we've got more and more people coming out on Twitter saying that they're having problems. So Cass goes on to say her own crew has run into my DMs, telling me to stay quiet nearly seconds after I stated I had a bad experience, didn't even mention her by name. Well, if they know where she's working, I just want to reiterate, Viv is a terrible person who only cares about her own shows and projects, makes fun of others, and yes, Sam Miller has been Viv's right-hand woman. We used to be friends, now she turned when she began working for Viv again. This is a lot of drama. But, I have to wonder if this isn't going to spill over into the A24 production. Now, there are some quote tweets here. I don't buy any evidence that's not immediate, like a video recording would be better. People want to destroy a female POC creator the moment she has found success.
Right, so I'm at immediately discredit. Now, again, normally we don't just take it as this word either unless there's more people talking about it.
That's why I wanted to disclaim this, but a lot of people are talking about it. And I've heard rumblings here and there, different places that people said she's difficult or whatever, but people, I guarantee you, people that have worked with me would think I'm difficult. And
well, I gotta tell you,
I can't be difficult.
Even the slightest mentioning of anything negative opens the floodgates. I can assure you it's true.
Okay, here's another example. I sort of regret agreeing to do the voice for Hazbin Hotel. I wasn't paid or treated well, and fans annoy me about it like I know anything about the schedule. This is Joe the Cool. Sorry to hear that. Third one, Cass. I think it's particularly notable that multiple people experience direct pushback at any attempt to speak about their experiences. There's definitely a pattern of behavior here. Also notable that Cass corroborated a lot of what Erin said, including Viv mocking other projects. Here's another one. 4. I remember there being massive amounts of shit talking going on in the server that was supposed to be a professional work environment. It gave me severe anxiety, but I just tried to keep my head down and diligently do my work. Of course, as those familiar with my situation, plus already know I was thrown under the bus when Holly and Jay called me out, harassed by Sam, the HR person, blamed for fallout of my abusers, impacting Viv, forced to publicly apologize. Holy hell. Viv was unaffected. I had no power. Yeah, so this is like, what, 4 or 5? This is like, there's a lot of interpersonal drama here, and I can't vouch for any of it, but it does seem like a lot of people that are working on her productions have a lot of the same complaints.
Well, at the end, she's like, for what it's worth, I have nothing against Viv, despite everything. I just wished I was treated better than her, handling my situation in a way that harmed me needlessly for no good reason. I just hope she eventually comes around and treats people better. I don't know, we're sort of reading all these posts that didn't have the power to say anything. There's no justice to be had for me. Sincerely wish best for speaking up and hope they can recover from past experiences. etc., etc. So yeah, that's several people now.
So I think, I mean, this has just happened in the last hour or two. I think the floodgates are going to open. Now, is that going to affect the show any? Unless there's some like real scandal or something, I doubt it. Because I mean, this is just kind of the typical creative beefing that people have. I mean, you work for people, whatever. But anyway, just putting it out there. I had people tag us in on it, and again, other than reading what other people are saying, can't really give an opinion. Don't know her. Have no idea. Have no intention of working for her. So, whatever. Gonna wrap it up.
Yep.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Bye.
Now he's just tasty, delicious, rotten flesh meat, which I can consume. Don't read into it too much.
Just like our museum, the cafe's open and Brewster is eager to serve. I don't think this was in the show. Run, 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 run. Oh, you got splatted. Oh, she was begging and you kicked her in the face.
I don't care.
Hey guys, Squid King here, and today we're in a...
Not girl boss at all. She is not a material girl.
She is not. Oh, it's Christmas time here in your mom. Nobody wants to join your mom.
What?
Like I can't even cook kid cuisine right. I would last about 2 minutes with Gordon Ramsay.
What? Where is he?
He's hiding. He's hiding from you.
He better.
Oh my God, you got the axe.
Walker, does this look like Steven Universe? Let me punch him. Well, I'm just here for the wax. Right where you belong.
Get in the dirt.
Well, that was a combination of events I probably shouldn't have put together. Anyways, let's open this bottle too.
Chica Pinata. Is that official?
Oh, no.
There's a bootleg.
Hello. Ooh, sorry.
Hey guys, it's Diamond Tool.
Let's make a farm.
Like and subscribe and buy my merch.
I mean, while you're here, you guys should like really like and subscribe and buy our merch, all of which we have.
That is true. You can't run them carrying trash. You can get away with one F-bomb per PG-13 movie.
I wish I'd known that sooner.
No. All right, so we're going to wrap this effer up.
Yes.